I'm Shaquan DeLong, the founder of Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC. I'm excited to welcome you all to the third annual JFF NYC celebration. Before we get into our great programming, just wanted to take the time to tell you all why we got started. Essentially, I started JFF NYC to celebrate you. I wanted to have a safe space so that Black voices, Black faces, Black achievement, and just Black dopeness can be celebrated. I wanted to have a space and time carved out where we're not just looking at Black struggle, but we're looking at Black joy, Black perseverance, and just how we continue to come above it all. You know, in 2020, we all were watching at the unfortunate and untimely death and murder of our very own brother, George Floyd. And in 2020, that's when we came together to start JFF NYC. We really wanted to change that narrative. My team and I wanted to have a space where we could say, look at all the great things that we continue to do and how we continue to shape and mold history and how we just continue to pour into and create the culture. So this third annual Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC is dedicated to you, our viewers, our attenders. Continue to stay with us, support us, follow us on all social media platforms, our Instagram, our Facebook, and TikTok at Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC. Stay tuned. You are going to enjoy this show. We have a number of featured artists, featured guests. You don't want to miss any of it. And again, we say thank you for celebrating with us.
The third annual Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC is brought to you in part by Quele TV, Binge on Culture. Target, expect more, pay less. Aloft Hotels, where travel breaks the mold. Pepsi, that's what I like. Official Black Wall Street, find anything Black owned anytime. Noble Planning, life is an event, make it memorable. Do you know Black? Trivia game show. Educate, empower, elevate, enrich, engage, entertain.
Hey everybody!
What's up?
Happy Juneteenth!
Yeah!
It's your girl, Dara, and co-host,
Rashad Bashir.
Hey! And we want to welcome you back to the third annual Juneteenth Freedom
Third
Fest.
one.
NYC. We're here for celebration, motivation, education, and liberation of the people, our people.
Yes. So this year we're going to have a great discussion panel. We're going to have performers, and we're going to have dope guest speakers, as well as a spoken word artist right here in Harlem.
Absolutely. Don't forget that we're also going to be covering the lack of trust that our people have in the medical field, okay, because some things have happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're also going to have a cipher. We are also going to be talking about being a Black creator and what that looks like and how you can get that ching-ching on those socials, all right? And don't forget, we're also not going to be stressing because we got a special edition of Dear Silence. I ain't stressing today.
I ain't stressing today.
It's 2023, and this year we are living in color.
In living color, do what
We
you
don't
want.
own the rights to that. Nope, not in living color. We are living in color, and we are celebrating all of the Black creatives that shine their light on the world and think out of the box and do the things.
See, living in color is a nod metaphorically to Black people coming out of their dark past and stepping into a brighter future.
Absolutely. And while we have you here, we would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors and partners for being able to bring this to our viewers.
Yes, and we also want to thank the viewers that have been rocking with us for the past 3 years. Thank y'all so much. We couldn't have done it without you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shaquanda Long, and I am the founder of Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC. We welcome you tonight as you join us for this incredible speaking segment that we have today. We are talking tonight about a topic that really resonates and is prevalent in our Black and brown communities. What's that topic? I'm talking about health care, medicine, and just the overall lack of trust that the Black and brown community has. I want to introduce our esteemed panelists. Right here to my left is none other than urologist Dr. Glenn McWilliams. Welcome. We have also here birth keeper and advocate Justine Batista. We also have patient advocate Dr. Don Aldridge. And none other than Harlem's own community advocate, Pastor Mimsy Robinson. All right, so let's just dive right into this conversation. I'm going to give you all a chance to go, and we can go in order, go straight down the line, but please tell us all more about yourself, what it is that you do, and why you felt that it was important to be a part of the panel tonight. Dr. McWilliams?
So I'm Glenn McWilliams. Thank you for having me. I am a physician. I happen to be a urologist, and also I have a particular specialty in cancer treatment and research. I'm a native New Yorker. I felt it was important to be here tonight because in urology in particular, most Black men and most of the community knows that prostate cancer is something that particularly disproportionately affects Black men. But the positive thing about it is if the person is diagnosed early enough, the treatment works successfully whether you're Black or white. So the main thing is just hopefully preventive medicine, but if you actually get diagnosed with something, to be able to treat it. This All of Us program even starts further back than that. By giving access to your health records and some blood testing and certain things, it will share a lot of information while you're healthy that might actually down the road have an effect to help not just you, but your family members and other people. So the main thing that I do also is just as an advocate is to get the word out to make sure that, one, that we as a community get out and go see doctors to prevent things from happening, but then if they occur, not to be frightened about them because there's different types of treatment. So the one other role that I have in New York is that I'm the president of the National Medical Association. So when you talk about disparities in healthcare, it's not just the people that we are subjected to it. We as physicians also have to go through these things. We work very hard to be involved, to treat patients, all patients. But there are a lot of studies that show that many physicians of the same ethnicity treat patients a little better or connect with them, and that decreases some of the fear of people going to do that. So the National Medical Association is an organization that has existed since 1895, because believe it or not, Black physicians were not able to join the American Medical Association until the late 1960s after the civil rights legislation. So even Black physicians have been discriminated against. So one of the things about all of us and some of the other things, such as even like the COVID vaccines and that, Black physicians, Latin physicians, different diverse people are involved with these things these days. So we just want to allay fears to make sure that we are involved with the science, we're involved with the research, we are involved with the treatment, and we want to make sure that all these dark and scary stories that are true, that give us patients and people cause to be resistant or afraid of the healthcare system, we're here to protect you and to be involved and advocate for your health.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wow.
That's incredible. Okay, Justine, how are you going to follow that up?
I know. How am I
But
going
please
to?
tell us about your area of expertise and why are you joining us today?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Justine. I am your birth keeper, also known as a doula. I go by birth keeper mainly because the term doula stems from the Greek term woman slave, and I don't feel like what I do is aligned with that. I support the women that are transitioning into motherhood. I'm their sister, I'm sometimes their teacher, I'm sometimes their guide, just someone that they feel comfortable with, witnessing them bring the life into this world. So that's why I go by Birth Keeper. And I felt like I needed to be part of this panel because usually a birth keeper is the woman that mothers go to when they don't feel safe going to the hospital. They don't trust the system, so but that the medical system is all they know. So they need somebody who's in the middle, who understands what they're going through, but also knows a little bit about the medical terms that they're going to be hearing when they're in the hospital. I am also the person who kind of tells them that it's okay to give birth at home, that sometimes it's safer to give birth at home because of, the way the doctors intervene with the natural process of labor and birth. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Justine. That's awesome. And I think it's important to have a birth keeper here on this panel because there are a lot of people in our community who are looking for other alternative ways to give birth. So we welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Dawn, please tell us more about you and your advocacy for the community.
Sure. My name is Dawn Kiernan Aldridge. I am the co-founder of Solutions Cancer Resource Center, which was founded back in 2003. My biggest goal is to bring awareness to the communities and advocate for early detection, preventions, and those types of measures that's really needed in our communities. I was raised in a household where health was emphasized. We had fruits and vegetables, the yogurt that was really nasty, that didn't have any flavors, that tasted like vomit. That's how we were raised. We were given everything. Cakes and ice cream was the Sunday, dessert, not like how we eat today. We can have cake and ice cream at any given point in time. And but it was a health conscious home. My father worked in a hospital. However, we are from the Caribbean. So in our household, there was sponsoring other members to come up so that they can go on to college and then from there move on and move with their lives. And then our house is always welcoming a new family member. So my father worked all the way up until January of 1996. I was a grown woman married with children at the time, and he was still working to help others. Unfortunately, my father had cancer. So taking care of everyone else, he was still thinking of others, and he was so diligent about his work that he always thought, and he relied on the fact that he exercised, he ate right, he did everything, he did yoga and meditation and rode his bicycle to and from Jacobi Hospital in the Bronx. That at the time, when he had cancer, everyone was like, how is that even possible? He smelled like carrots and celery. That's how, it's just the way he ate so healthy. So I think he probably assumed that the symptoms he may have been feeling was coming along with just getting older. And that's one of the things we tend to do is rely on our own health habits and think that, okay, since we're doing everything that's right, then anything else that's wrong may be associated with something else. So my mission and goal in life right now, other than working in cancer research as well as being a part of being at the table to represent our people, is also to bring awareness to the communities, to speak about the importance of early detection and prevention, and not to dismiss our symptoms and think that maybe it's because I moved the furniture, maybe because we need to become more proactive. The saying, an ounce of detection is better than a pound of cure, is so true. So my goal is to continue to bring awareness, bring communities together, and it's so important for me to be here because I like to be the town crier for everything as it relates to our health and wellness.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dawn, and I love how she made that real, right? Everyone here has had some sort of experience or knows someone that has cancer or dealt with cancer, and that's just a perfect example how cancer can meet you no matter age, no matter race, no matter even if you're healthy, right? And so thank you for being here today. Please, Pastor Mimsy, it is your turn waiting patiently over there.
Absolutely.
Tell us your area of expertise and why are you on this particular panel today?
Well, I'm grateful to be here, first of all. I'm privileged to be here. And as stated, I am Pastor Mimsy Robinson. I serve at Bethel Gospel Assembly. We are at 120th Street, Madison Avenue. That's right here in Harlem, of course. And so, having said that, I've been involved in a number of community health activities. It started with Mount Sinai. One of my neighbors came to me, not knowing anything about my past, not knowing anything about my interest in medicine. I was actually pre-med when I was in college. And again, this woman had no knowledge of that, the fact that I'd been accepted to med school and then turned towards ministry and education as fields. That having been said, I got involved with this particular community advisory board at Mount Sinai simply because she asked me to, not knowing that it was actually fulfilling a dream. My dream was to impact the community holistically, definitely spiritually, as a Christian, as a minister. That was number one. I felt strong calling there, but going back to college and all that got me involved in med school and the thought of going to med school was community health. Looking at the statistics for Harlem, comparing them to the statistics of Haiti, and this is what I did when I was in college. It made me know, my goodness, we're not doing any better than those which people call developing countries at that time. That's the term that was used. So here I am. I see it almost as an act of God. The fact that life goes full circle. And here I'm doing something that is a part of my calling, just recognizing that, if I can make it personal, so often there are members of our community that have become disillusioned with the medical institution, disillusioned with healthcare. I think about my own parents. My mom went to the doctor regularly. Her doctor is actually here. Dr. Mack is in the building here. And that to say she's 92 years old. So she's been an example of good medical care. But my dad is an example of someone who had less trust for the medical care system and didn't go to the doctor regularly. Then after retiring, and this is a man who didn't seem to get sick at all, but after retiring, looked like everything fell apart. Diabetes, rectal cancer, one thing after another, his health declined until his death in 1999. And I say that to simply say that we have to talk about this issue, because too often people are, not going to physicals, they are not getting the screenings they need, they're not taking advantage of the system that is available, and too often we are not helping the system get better. We just, talk about or complain about the issues instead of getting involved to change them. And so that's why I'm here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Pastor Mimsy. And I loved what he shared, right, about the difference of opinions, or just the way, one parent in the household felt about one thing, one parent in the household felt about another. But it speaks to the time that we are working through, right? Coming from that history. There's a reason why Pastor Mimsy's dad didn't trust certain medicines or practices. There's a reason, there's a history behind that. And we're gonna be getting into that really soon, I promise. We're gonna take a quick break. Don't you go nowhere, because when we come back, we're gonna talk about why we say, just go ahead, drink some ginger ale, and go lay down. See you in the break.
And we're black! This is the game show testing your knowledge of all things black. And today, we got 5 brothers and sisters competing for the all-black prize pack. Do you think they really know black? I got everybody saying yeah, and then one brother, no.
W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells, and John Lewis are all notable alumni of which HBCU? Is it A, Florida A&M, B, Tuskegee University, C, Hampton University, or D, Fisk University? Keep watching, and we'll be right back with the answer.
In Texas, we Juneteenth with marching bands, and Grandma Oprah Lee, we Juneteenth to preserve our history.
In LA, we Juneteenth with crowds in Lamert Park to bring generations together.
In New Orleans, we Juneteenth near Congo Square and on the second line, in memory of our ancestors who never saw freedom.
In Buffalo, we Juneteenth with our entire family showing up and showing out. We drill, we dance in the parade. We Juneteenth unafraid because we won't be broken.
In Harlem, we Juneteenth loud and unapologetically with our community. We Juneteenth with pride, and we do it for the culture. Juneteenth is our day, so we do it our way. We do it for us.
How will you Juneteenth? Join Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC in Harlem on Saturday, June 17th to celebrate Black dopeness. For more information, go to www.jffnyc.com.
W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells, and John Lewis are all notable alumni of which HBCU? Is it A, Florida A&M, B, Tuskegee University, C, Hampton University, or D, Fisk University? The answer is D, Fisk University.
Hello everyone, we are back. It is me, Shaquanda Long, the founder of Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC, and I am having just a great conversation with my esteemed panelists. I want to make sure that I do mention our great partners that we have with the Cobb Institute as well as the All of Us Research Program. And those are other programs that find the importance of having personalized medicine. But before we get into personalized medicine, what that is, why it's important, we need to address the elephant in the room. We can't get to personalized medicine and medical research if we can't get to the people. And the numbers are showing that Black and brown people are just not showing up because there's a lack of trust. When we left off before our break, we were speaking to Pastor Mimsy. He gave a great example of growing up, how his father, like many of us, we've had family members like that, or people we know in the community, they just don't want to go to the doctor. So I want to get into that a little bit. Why do you think there's such a huge lack of trust? What is that about?
It's about a lot of things. First of all, it's about history, which many of us are aware of. From Tuskegee syphilis to the situation with Henrietta Lacks and her cells being used to make a lot of money for a lot of people except for her own family. Again, so many abuses have occurred, sterilization of women who didn't even know they were being sterilized. So the list is long when we look at history, and many have become more understanding of that history as it relates to Black and brown people in particular. So there's that historical side, but then we get to our own care. And if we are honest, probably all of us can mark some point in our journey, especially those of us with a little bit of age, like me, all right? You can mark some point in your journey of dealing with the medical institution, dealing with healthcare, where something didn't go the way it was supposed to. And it just might have to do with the fact that being who you are as a person of color, Black person or brown person, that you feel you got a treatment that was just not what it should be, substandard treatment. And if I'm talking from a personal experience, recently, I went through a number of eye surgeries. Had I not gone through those eye surgeries, I'd be wearing glasses right now. Fortunately, the last of those surgeries was so successful that I don't need them for a lot of what I do during the day. I need them for more like, I need it for a lot of what I do when I'm on the computer, but not just moving about and even driving. So that's really special. But I had to actually switch doctors because the doctor that I had who did the first cornea transplant, which I had, That cornea transplant failed. And it's not the end of the world that a cornea transplant fails, because any transplant can fail, and we understand that. But the issue is, she didn't tell me. I had to ask her, because I'm noticing that it took weeks and weeks before I began to see clearly, and I wasn't seeing clearly. And I had to ask her, excuse me, what's going on? I'm not seeing through this eye very well at all. And she said, it might have failed. Her telling me that only added to a number of other experiences that I'd had with her that caused me to lose trust in her care. I went back to my general ophthalmologist, who in turn sent me to another one, and this one happened to be, and I think he lived up to it, he's ranked as the #1 ophthalmologist in the country. So happens. And I guess I'm a good example of his work. And that's just to show you how you can get good care, but you can also get bad care.
And I agree with him in terms of the service that sometimes you get, the personal interactions that you have with your healthcare practitioner is what's key, right? So Brother Mimsy, he went and he had this particular encounter, and that's more so than Henrietta Lacks and Tuskegee. It's the everyday interaction with these healthcare providers. And so what happened is, if I don't say who I am or my background, I can see what type of service I would receive from a particular physician or a family member. And anyone who's in healthcare would know that when anything happens, someone in your family is going to call you to help them through the process, or, you know, tell you about this encounter. And so many times, if you don't identify yourself, going to the emergency room many times until you say, well, I'm in the healthcare field, and all of a sudden things change. You know, you start getting better service, you're seen a little quicker, or all this extra perks that comes with it, which shouldn't be the case. It should be all around the board that we have these just great encounters. No one wants to go to the emergency room. No one and that's another thing I'd like to talk about, is how reactive we are as a people, that we end up in the emergency room rather than going to our daily physicals and having annual physicals and checkups and those types of things. However, what's very important and what keeps people from going to the doctors in most cases is their interaction, because some doctors are right out arrogant because they have those types of personalities, because people are also intimidated by the doctors because they feel like the doctors are the one who knows everything. And that's a reason why I try to empower people with how to understand that you are an important part of the team. You are a part of it, you are there, and that's their job, is to take care of you. If they had no patients, doctors would not exist. So we all need each other, and the doctors are there to help us and guide us through with their expertise, and we should acknowledge that and recognize that and be grateful for it. But at the same time, we're also very much important to express ourselves, our concerns, and feel that we're being heard and that there's an engagement, because we're all a part of the team trying to get to the same goal, which is to find a way to make things better, or to guide me into the direction, or guide you, the individual, into the direction where you should go. And then it's up to you now to follow through.
Yes, there was so much I agreed with right there. The interaction, a lot of times when I get clients, what they say is that they couldn't build the trust with the healthcare provider because the OBG or the midwife came in for 5 minutes, asked them, are you okay? Do you have any questions? And then walked out. So it's like really hard to trust someone that you barely had a conversation with. But yes, the lack of trust with the doctors, because they don't really sit and talk to the patient and ask them about their history, ask them how they're feeling, ask them about their daily life, and go on from there.
Well, one of the more recent things, you know, that created fear, it's just even this whole COVID and the pandemic. And then Black and brown people were disproportionately affected with that because of socioeconomic status, being frontline workers, and then also just because of these latent fears that have been existing along since Tuskegee and other things too. So one of the things that we did in the National Medical Association is, and even me as a urologist, I spent more time in the last 4 years probably speaking about non-urology things and men's health than just generalized, because I find myself being a general physician to all patients, black and white. And oftentimes I pride myself because it's not uncommon that somebody will say, oh, I didn't know I was taking that pill for that reason, and they're talking about their blood pressure. And you know, I give an example with COVID in that was a patient I had who had survived 3 cancers, and he was 75 years old, but being the strong veteran that he was and a frontline worker still, and you look at him and think he's healthy, he's like, well, I don't have any reason I need to get this vaccination. And I'm like, you know, but what we're trying to tell you about is that you have these pre-existing things, your age, your cancers that you fought, your diabetes, the hepatitis, and I'm like, no, if anyone needs to get this vaccine, you need to get it. And I said, as a matter of fact, they have it right down the hall. He goes, well, I'll think about coming back tomorrow. I said, look, come on. And I took him and we went and walked down the hall. And no one paid me to do that type of stuff, but this is just sometimes this interaction that you have and the trust he got. So that guy went that day and got his vaccines. You know, it wasn't just him being in there talking about his prostate or urination and things like that. For him, I was his complete doctor in that day, and there was a lot of effects and things like that we had. So we made different programs to go out to parks, we went out to churches, and then when oftentimes if you see people who are like you from the community as well, and you know, lead by example and get involved and be able to answer questions, then oftentimes you can get people to get involved with it all.
Awesome. So I heard a lot of you say some of the same things. One of the things that stood out to me, right, when we talk about building trust, building relationship, making people aware, giving people the tools and the resources that they need to feel empowered and to feel educated enough to move forward in the relationship. One of the things that Pastor Mimsy said that I really liked, he did have, you know, one bad experience, but he didn't let that, you know, ruin his entire trust overall. And there's a number of things that I think we can do as a community is one, stay informed, right? One of the things Dawn said to me is about being proactive instead of reactive, right? A lot of times we find ourselves in those situations, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. You know, adequate access to health care, inadequate health care, period. You know, sometimes you can be in a particular neighborhood where, you know, there's one clinic. And so there's a number of things that add to that entire just topic of discussion as to why that history is there. Of course, we mentioned the Tuskegee Airmen and people, you know, testing on black and brown folks. So of course that would lead to mistrust. And it wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it was a number of times. But one of the things that I love is if you're looking up here at this panel, you see yourself. These are black and brown women and men who are our champions on the inside, on the other side. Can you speak to that, or, you know, someone just speak to that? What is it like as someone, you're black, you're brown, you're a part of the community, but you're also in various different professions, or you're within the medical world. Do you yourselves, what are some challenges that you yourselves may face, you know, kind of being on both sides of the fence?
Well, with me, because I don't have any licenses, any medical licenses, sometimes when I am in a birthing space and there are nurses in there, they feel like what I have to say is not that important because I don't have the letters before or after my name, but I do the study, and I do, you know, educate myself on the woman's body, on the body in general. So when I can speak on, you know, the hormones that play a part in the labor process, I kind of get eye rolls, like, oh, what is she talking about? But it makes sense to them.
Well, to add on to that, some of this, that, like, even as a physician, you go through school, so if I have to make a decision about many things in life, the first thing I think about is who I can call who knows more about it or knows something about it than I do. So many times, it's nice and it's always good to bring someone with you to the physician, or if you're going to encounter something, because a lot of times you just tune out. And especially if cancer happens to come up, you have to anticipate that the patients aren't even going to hear anything after that word. And then it's good to have a family member or someone else in there. Sometimes even, a younger, like I see, I love when people come in with their grandchildren who are even just in high school because they have a better understanding. They'll retain it. You give them some literature and things to read, and then you're always welcome to come back and ask questions. But it's really not about the degrees, because we know, and even in my profession, I know better than anyone else, you can have all the degrees in the world, but you're just not a good person, and you just don't care.
Yeah.
And you want to have somebody that cares, that's knowledgeable, ask the right questions, because it even makes doctors rethink. Sometimes it makes me rethink, and you ask me a question, because then I think about it in a different perspective, and you have to hopefully find somebody who's open to that, to think about it and make a change, and even think about doing things differently, because you're talk about like even precision. Every patient is different, and every experience is different. So.
Before we wrap up and go to our next break, I want to ask this, because one of the things that I believe, and I think we're all here because we believe this to an extent, is a way to bridge those, or to build those bridges of trust, is to really start focusing our attention on personalized medicine and research. So I want us to speak to that for a second. Can you all tell us when we're talking about the terms personalized medicine, personalized medical research, what is that, and why is it important? Why should our community be coming out to be a part of said researches?
Well, I would say that it's really important to be a part of the research process, because this is where many of us in our communities who have raised in foster care, we do not know our health profile, we don't know our other partner, our parent may not be in our lives, we're not necessarily aware of our health history. And in programs such as All of Us, which is an amazing program, they have afforded us with the ability to even have access to know about our individual genetic and how makeup, and be able to understand, and that could be helpful to your doctor or your family health history, where you can share that and they can understand who you are as the individual. Because I can have a banana and eat it and have a good banana because it's good for me, but for someone else who's dealing with certain health issues, a banana may not be good for them.
Right.
So therefore, having a personal profile is something that's really important for us to have, and to have access to that, which is no cost to us, through the All of Us research program, is priceless. And that's something I think that it's really important to know our health profile, pass it on to our family members. We come from a long line of private people in our lifetimes where people didn't talk about their health issues, and still to this day. Some people find themselves being very private about certain things because they don't want others to know, whatever that reason is. But it's important for us to now tell that to our family members so that they know what to look out for, to be able to even know they might be at risk for it, maybe they may not, but at least to know. So when they go to the doctors and ask them questions, I have children ranging from the age of almost 37 to 30. And they still call me to ask me, do we have this and do we have that? And I've told them everything I can possibly tell. But just the other day, my youngest, she said, do we have glaucoma in the family? And I was able to say, yes, we do. So now she's able to continue to build her profile and understand these things, and that's why it's so important for us to take advantages of anything that offers us the opportunity to learn even more so about us as the individual, because that's one of the things medicine is just catching up to. Right. It's treating the patient as the individual instead of an one size fits all approach. And that's what has been happening for a long time. If the patient has cancer, there was this one approach to how we're going to treat this cancer patient. Now we're starting to see the shift, and that's so much better for each of us as an individual. And I think it's important for us to know these things and become more a part of that.
Hopefully these efforts and things also give us a chance to look back, or what we call like retrospectively in things, because unfortunately, many of the treatments and almost all the medications did not have a good representation of black and brown people in it. So many of the things that we're taking into our body on a regular basis were based on things in which we were not represented in, and sometimes there's different effects of it all, and we only find out about it after the fact, many years down the road. So with all of this, if you have your records and things like that in there and available, then they can look at even medications that we've been using for a while. This is why you see on the news, maybe 20 years after we've been doing something, like all of a sudden they're kind of changing their mind, and because now there's more people that have actually taken that and been affected in it than that were involved in the original things that the FDA released it for. So you may not be black people may not be in the studies, but we're oftentimes very much the users and the unfortunately the victims of things that might happen after the fact, and if we were more involved in it at a good percentage basis, some of those things might be avoided looking forward.
Right. And one thing we have to do is demystify the whole term research. Big deal, because too often, back to things mentioned earlier, when people hear the word research and then you put black people with it, trouble, right?
Yes.
Because it automatically raises those flags, those red flags of, wait a minute, are they gonna make us guinea pigs again? And so people automatically decide to check out mentally and decide that that's not for me. I don't want people having that kind of information about me, but more importantly, I've been discriminated against in other ways. I don't want to be discriminated against this way, and then you got movies like Gattaca, which actually show you people being discriminated because of their genes. And so things like that, we have to, one, demystify the notion of research so that people feel more comfortable with it. We also need to have researchers that look like us who are part of different teams. We need community people who are connected to the researchers, who sit and are part of the community-based participatory research, so that people feel like they are being represented in terms of their voice. We need people who will help navigate folks through sometimes what can be a complicated process, especially if it's technical. We're talking about older individuals who may not be as savvy with a computer or even with their own phones. I could say much more about that, but I'll stop there.
And one other thing that this personalized care does is give the people back their power, I feel. Because now that you know about yourself, you can be part of the team that helps you get better. So it's definitely something that gives us back our power in the birthing room and all medical rooms.
Right.
That's awesome. Incredible. Thank you so much. I am full. I don't know about you guys, but everything that was said here was so rich, and I want those of you watching to really take that into account. Let's start being proactive instead of reactive, and let's take back our power. Let's learn about ourselves and be a part of the research. We want to be a part of the research. Why? Because we want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to not only be included, but we want to also lead the charge when it comes to things that are being put into our community, things and medicines that we are large users of. Don't you go anywhere. We are going to come right back after this short break with a little Q&A before we wrap up this speaker series, Ginger Ale and Vicks Vapor Rub.
We always find each other along our different paths. Sometimes we even make it out the group chat, and it's like no time has passed. No matter where we are, we're always intertwined. Our destination is us, and we feed each other shine. Find your shine at Target.
Hey, I know y'all ain't going nowhere. Stay right there. It's going to get good.
Trust me, you don't want to go anywhere because you don't want to miss the rest of this town hall. And we have an incredible dance performance by Too Crafty.
So stay tuned, keep it locked, don't go nowhere.
What's the blackest thing you've done around white people? It's probably show up late.
Be me. They scared of me. Probably say the N-word really loud when a song is playing to see if they want to do it with me.
When I was in Vegas, I was busting Afrobeat dances everywhere, like even in the elevators, walking through the hotels.
When 50 Cent came out with Get Rich or Die Tryin', I knew all of the words to Patiently Waiting, and my white family was like, what in the world?
Probably season my food, like, you know, have hot sauce, put hot sauce on chicken and shit. I used to work with white people, so I used to have to do shit like that all the time, though, for, you know.
Brought them some baked macaroni and cheese and fried chicken and some cornbread. That might be the blackest thing.
As soon as I walk in the room, they already looking.
I think back in like when niggas used to say "you're" all the time, like heavy. I think I did that in SDK one time. Like somebody walked down, "You're."
Welcome. If you're just now tuning in, we have been having a great discussion here talking about the lack of trust surrounding healthcare in the Black and brown community, but also looking to the promise of personalized healthcare. This is the segment that we call Ginger Ale and Vicks Vapor Rub. Why? Because we've all had those instances where we've tried to avoid the doctor, and we've had a chance to really speak into that history, talk about the lack of trust. Now we're going to be getting into some questions that you all, the viewers, have had, as well as our live audience, specifically for this panel. So let's get right into the first question. This question is for all of our guests, and here it is. What are some things that each of you do personally to combat the lack of trust in medicine from our community?
Communicate with people. Talk to them about health care. Talk to them about their options. Talk to them about the importance of getting someone who can help you navigate the healthcare system. It's a complicated system. Let's not kid ourselves. And for our older people, it's even more complicated because all too often they're being asked to do things on computer in order to access a particular provider or a particular institution or what have you. So we need to work together. That's one thing. We need to build within our own networks opportunities for people to get support. And I think that could help people feel a lot more comfortable. Sometimes people are using excuses too. It's not always mistrust. It's just a fear that some people have that they won't be able to navigate that system, and so they just leave it out, and not knowing that that could be the difference between life and death. That's right. The time that they, missed an appointment or failed to get a physical this year, etc. Not recognizing how, just serious that could be, that choice. So we have to help people see that first of all, but then help them. We talked about demystifying research. How about just, making it easier for people to access healthcare?
That's right. And I would say, speaking on demystifying research, it's also important to understand that when you hear research, people will think of something invasive or intrusive. And so with all of us research, it's really just giving some spit or having your blood taken. It's nothing, you're not gonna have a lobotomy, no one's gonna open the skull and go in. There's nothing to it more than you providing just a little bit of sample of something, and you get back so much more in return. It's so important for us to be able to engage and then start telling them the benefits of having these services. What is in it for me? What's good for me? in this whole process. So it's important for us to also be cheerleaders as well as cheering people on into making good decisions for themselves and for their family, because people know how important it is, not just for me, but that my family also knows what's important for them to look ahead to.
Yes, awesome.
So with the cheerleading thing, that's basically what I do when I'm in the birthing space. I'm basically cheerleading you on so that you know that you're safe and in good hands, and just also getting a network of doctors that you yourself trust so that you can give those resources to your people.
Yeah. So once again, I just try to advocate and tell people to really find someone else, not go through these things by themselves. Try and be proactive instead of reactive. But then also as a physician on that side, I feel blessed to be part of all of this stuff, coming from very humble beginnings, so that I will spend and give that extra bit of time that many of my colleagues oftentimes may not. And so, once again, I'll be answering questions that is not my particular specialty, but because I have a lot more medical knowledge than the average person, I'll either try and find the answer or find someone who can help you with it. So usually you have to be persistent about trying to look for a resource or somebody that can help you navigate it, and just keep asking. There's someone out there who's probably had something similar and who can help you, so don't be afraid to share that information, because it'll be helpful for them as well as helpful for you.
Great, awesome. Thank you all. Our next question is specifically for Justine. What is the difference between a midwife and a birth keeper? And do you think a birth keeper is a good fit for most expecting moms of color?
So the first part, what is the difference between a birth keeper and a midwife? Honestly, in my opinion, they're kind of the same thing. The only thing, the midwife has way more information, way more clinical. The midwife can do all the clinical stuff. The doula, she's not really able to, or birth keeper, she's not really able to test your urine. She's not able to really get hands-on unless she's massaging you or giving you acupuncture. You won't really see a birth keeper in situations where they're giving you shots or anything like that. So that is what the midwife. And the second part is, everyone deserve a doula? Yes, everybody deserves, every baby, which is what a birth keeper basically is. Her contract is with the baby and keeping the baby safe and keeping the mom safe. So everybody deserves a welcoming team, a birthday party. When you're in a hospital giving birth, sometimes it's so cold and dark and you don't celebrate your birthday like that. So why would you celebrate a baby coming into the world like that? You want it to be happy and empowering, and that's why I feel like, yes, every woman deserves a birth team, a birth supporters in your room.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful question. This next question is specifically for Pastor Mimsy, and it's a good one. You ready? It says, how can churches utilize their platform to promote preventative medicine amongst large populations of Black patients?
Oh, it's an excellent question. Some of the larger churches, and our church would probably be considered a larger church, have health ministries. And I say larger only because oftentimes the smaller churches, because they're often a bivocational pastor who isn't, working for the church full time, has another job, therefore they're not in the building as often, therefore they may not have as many auxiliaries, and so health ministry might not be one of the ministries, but those churches that are larger often have a health ministry. We've been able to integrate that into the congregation. Of course, there's always a need for much more improvement, much more involvement. So there's, I'm not speaking of this as something that is, just lock, stock, and barrel on the way to perfection, but we definitely have the infrastructure in our church, for instance. So anything we do, we put it on our website. Things that have to do with health, workshops, things that have to do with opportunities. We even, especially during the COVID-19, it seems like we amplified it in terms of just making sure people knew where the resources were. And they're not just health resources. Sometimes they're things like food resources or housing support and so on and so forth. So I think we've all had to become a lot more aware of what's available in the community, and we certainly have much more work to do. But churches are a meeting place for the community. We like to think of ourselves as helping pastor the community, not just our own congregants. So, you know, anyone's welcome to use our services, things that we offer in the social service mode, et cetera. And we have people from all ethnicities coming. You know, for instance, our pantry lines, sometimes there are more Chinese Americans than there are African Americans or Latino Americans on the line. And that just shows you how people from all over sometimes come, depending on what you're offering.
Thank you. And this is our last and final question before we get to the end here and wrap things up. This is for everyone. And I ask if you can keep your answers brief. But it is a loaded question. But can you speak about the need for mental health outreach for teens, adults, and seniors? We are really big on mental health. Let's speak to that, or any particular ideas revolving about the need for mental health in teens, adults, and seniors. This for all of y'all.
So I would say for mental health issues, which again in our communities, that's still stigma is still attached to accessing the services. However, we notice as of late, people are now talking more about mental health, which is a good thing. The challenge sometimes that can also present is within the church and the faith community. Faith-based communities are still, working through understanding that God put us all here to help in certain fields, and that we should access those resources as well. No one in here gets up in the morning and do their own baking of their breads and then go in to make their own shoes or do their own dresses. We use all the resources that are out there for us. We need everyone. We need the janitor. We need the cook and the dishwasher. We need all of these resources. And that's also important when it comes to understanding how important it is for us to go and tap into those resources that are out there as it relates to our mental health. We can still pray, we can still believe God, but we can still also tap into those resources that are out there and get help when as needed.
Right. We, as a church, we have partnered with some of our health institutions in order to provide better mental health. And by that I mean there are times when we've offered workshops that address mental health specifically. Resilience during the pandemic was one of the workshops we did. It was like a 6-week program with Mount Sinai, and it was faith-based, but we were absolutely looking at helping people just have strategies that can help keep them safe, and also providing resources so that when you don't feel safe, and there are times when people just don't feel safe. They don't feel safe in terms of just their own personal life. They feel as if they might do something to themselves or to someone else, and they need to know that there's a place they can go where people can help them. And so I think, we don't have to do everything. Churches don't have to do everything, no organizations do everything, but we do need to know what's available, and we do need to partner with those organizations that are open to that. Not every organization, not every health institution is ready for that kind of community partnership. Is willing to, see us as an equal and work with us as such, but there are those that are, and you have to look for it because it does exist.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to mental health, I work a lot with mothers. Maternal mental health is really big. After you give birth, there's a depletion in your body, and there's a depletion sometimes in your spirit, and people think like, oh, because you just had a baby, that you're supposed to be this super happy person, but that doesn't always happen because of the hormonal imbalance. So in order for you to feel balanced, not only does your body have to get back into regular flow, your spirit has to be regular, and then that also works with your mind going back into regular flow, and that's why maternal mental health is really important also.
So just like, I mean, everyone has a body, you have a mind, and your mind goes through a lot of different things. You have good days, you have bad days, there's sickness and health and all of that. And I work at the VA, and veterans, oftentimes this topic comes up, particularly post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's an obvious thing with the military and guns. But a lot of these guys, sometimes the choice to even go into the military wasn't just because they wanted to go fight or kill anybody. It was, they didn't necessarily have a choice to necessarily do it. They looked at it as a positive thing. So when you talk about our youth, as a black and brown person, myself even, you're born into a society that's still not accepting of you. You're constantly battling. That's exhausting. Every day of my life, I've thought about my black skin, the way I walk, the way I talk, the way I drive, my interactions that might kill me. That's stressful. So it's good to have somebody to speak to, and it's best, and oftentimes if it could be somebody independent. Because a lot about the health is not about taking drugs and walking around like a zombie. It's about just being able to relieve anxieties and stresses and being able to get some help with it. And so I very much am an advocate and supporter of that. We should all have therapists. That was incredible.
Thank you all for such a wonderful panel. I could not have asked for a better group of panelists. Before we wrap things up, please, let's go down the line really quickly. Say your name and how the people can find you if they have any further questions they'd like to get to you. Let's start with you, Glenn.
So, Dr. Glenn McWilliams, I'm most proud of the National Medical Association, which is, and you can reach me through that. The local one is called Manhattan Central Medical Society, and it's Manhattan Central Medical Society at gmail.com. I happen to be the president, so if you just use that email, it's the easiest way to contact me.
Yes, Justine Batista. You can reach me at mamaconcrete.com or mamaconcrete@gmail. You can also reach me on my Instagram at mamaconcrete.
And I am Dawn, co-founder of Solutions, and you can reach me at dawnbka@gmail. That's the email that I check most of the time.
I'm Mimsy Robinson at gmail.com, so it's MIMSIEROBINSON at gmail.com. Glad to talk to you about any of these things.
And thank you all so much for being a part of the panel with us as we're speaking and diving into ways we can continue to have these bridges directly with the community, giving them the resources and the tools they need to feel empowered about their health and learning more about personalized research. Please be sure to take a look at our partners. We want to thank them so much, the Cobb Institute, as well as the All of Us research program. As for me, I'm Shaquanda Long, and you can catch me right here in Harlem. We'll be doing these speaks, we'll be having these conversations, and we will continue to celebrate with our 3rd annual Juneteenth Freedom Fest NYC happening right here in Harlem. And all week long, you can catch us. You can find out more about our upcoming events at www.jffnyc.com. Thank you all for being a part of this conversation, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you.
Happy birthday!
Thank you, baby.
You look so beautiful.
You too.
Oh my
flowers.
gosh. Oh my god, wait. Where did you get that?
Up next, we have a group that's going to bring the energy and that black joy.
These kids are lit and they get light. All the way from the boogie down Bronx. Team Too Crafty! Team Too Crafty. Ooh, they was getting light, and I was getting lightheaded. Oh my God. Ooh. I thought I could do that. I caught a cramp in my chest just watching him. This is, oh. But no, that was a dope performance, and shout out to Team Too Crafty from the Bronx. I really enjoyed the panel discussion. I really did.
Yes, me too. It was very informative, and it was a great way for us to build the bridges with doctors and actually learn that trust in the medical field is achievable.
Yes, yes. Also, if you missed anything from tonight, you can log on to the website at www.jff NYC.com and catch all the discussions and panels from tonight's episode.
And we also want to take another moment to thank our sponsors and partners for being able to bring all of this to you.
So, again, please join us tomorrow night, same time, same place. This is JFF NYC. I'm your co-host, Rashad Bashir.
I'm your co-host, Dara Jamat.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Peace!